The last words Queen Amara ever spoke were, "I love you." She whispered them to her husband, King Adewale, as he took his final breath in her arms. A poisoned arrow, meant for their only son, had found his heart instead. The king had thrown himself in front of the prince without hesitation. And as the light faded from his eyes, something inside Amara shattered so completely that when she opened her mouth to scream, no sound came out. Not a whisper. Not a cry. Nothing. The royal physicians examined her for days. "It's her grief, Your Majesty," they told the young Prince Chikuti. "Sometimes trauma takes our voice." But weeks became months, and Amara remained silent. The kingdom whispered about their widowed queen who walked the palace halls like a ghost. Some called her broken. Others called her cursed. But none called her brave. Not yet. Young King Chikuti, now 17, tried his best to rule. But in the shadows, his most trusted advisor, General Okonkwo, was plotting treason. Okonkwo had paid for the arrow that killed the king. Now he wanted to destabilize the young ruler's reign and seize the throne for himself. Fires burned in granaries. Wells were poisoned. Villages fell ill. Bandits attacked merchant caravans. With each disaster, the people lost faith in their young king. And General Okonkwo watched with satisfaction. Soon, he thought. Very soon the throne would be his. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd forgotten about the silent widow who moved through the palace like smoke. When you don't speak, people forget you're there. They talk around you, over you, as if you're furniture. And Amara listened to everything. One midnight, unable to sleep, she walked the palace gardens. That's when she heard voices from General Okonkwo's study. The window was cracked open. Amara pressed herself against the wall, hidden in shadow, and listened. "The next phase begins tomorrow." Okonkwo's voice was smooth, confident. "The river dam. Once it's sabotaged, the flooding will destroy the eastern villages. Hundreds will die. Sir, the king will. The king will be blamed." Okonkwo interrupted. "For poor infrastructure. For being too young to rule. And when the people cry out for change, when they beg for a stronger leader, we'll give them one. Me." The officer hesitated. "And the queen mother?" Okonkwo laughed. "That broken woman. She's too lost in grief to be a threat." Amara's hands clenched into fists. Her throat ached with words she couldn't speak. But in that moment she made a decision. If she couldn't use her voice, she'd use everything else. The next morning before dawn, Amara dressed in servant's clothes and slipped out of the palace. The river dam was 3 miles away. If it failed, hundreds would die in the flooding. She moved through the awakening city like a shadow. Past markets, past temples, past city gates where guards waved her through without a second glance. Just another peasant woman. Nothing to see. When she reached the dam, 2 of Okonkwo's soldiers were finishing their sabotage, removing support stones, weakening beams. It wouldn't fail immediately, but within days the structure would collapse. Amara waited until they left. Then she emerged from hiding. She looked at the damage. At the heavy stones. The wooden beams. She was a 50-year-old widow who'd never done manual labor. She was barely 5 feet tall. But she'd been a mother. And mothers do impossible things. She picked up the first stone. For 6 hours Amara worked. Her hands blistered and bled. Her back screamed in agony. Her muscles trembled with exhaustion. But stone by stone, beam by beam, she repaired what the saboteurs had destroyed. When she finally stumbled back to the palace, her clothes were ruined, her hands were raw, and her body felt like it might collapse. But the dam would hold. She'd saved hundreds of lives. And no one would ever know. That night she heard Okonkwo raging. How is this possible? The dam should have failed. Amara allowed herself a small, silent smile. But she knew this was just the beginning. Over the next 3 months, a strange phenomenon occurred. Every one of Okonkwo's plots mysteriously failed. Poisoned grain. The wagon overturned before anyone could eat it. An assassin hired to kill the king. His horse spooked and threw him first. A planned fire at the royal library. Buckets of water appeared from nowhere, already positioned. Okonkwo was losing his mind. It's as if someone knows our every move. What he didn't know was that Queen Mother Amara had become a ghost. She moved through secret passages, listened at doors, read documents left carelessly on desks. And every time she discovered a plot, she stopped it. She never spoke. Never wrote her name. Never took credit. She was a silent guardian, and her kingdom had no idea she existed. But the work was destroying her body. And she'd just discovered Okonkwo's final, terrible plan. General Okonkwo wasn't just planning to take the throne. He was planning to kill every remaining member of the royal family. A massacre during the Festival of Lights, to be blamed on a peasant uprising. Amara had 1 week to stop the murder of everyone she loved. She couldn't do it alone. She needed help. But how could she ask for it without speaking? She thought of all the people she'd saved over the past months. They didn't know she'd saved them, but they could help her anyway. She began to leave notes. Handwritten messages to 5 trusted people. The handmaiden. The head cook. The captain of guards. The blacksmith. The librarian. Trust me. Midnight East Garden. The kingdom depends on this. It came. And she showed them the evidence she'd gathered. Documents proving Okonkwo's treachery. What do you need us to do? They asked. Amara smiled and began to write her plan. The Festival of Lights arrived. The great hall blazed with thousands of lamps. King Chikwudi and Princess Zara sat on their thrones, smiling at their celebrating people. General Okonkwo stood nearby, playing the role of loyal protector. Queen Mother Amara sat in her usual corner, silent and seemingly distant. But her eyes were sharp, watching. At exactly midnight someone screamed, "Fire! The eastern wing is burning." Chaos erupted. People stampeded. Guards rushed toward the reported fire. In the confusion, armed assassins burst through a suddenly unguarded door, heading straight for the royal family. This was Okonkwo's plan. But what he didn't know was there was no fire. It was a false alarm, created by Amara's allies. And when his assassins burst through that door, Captain Olyamide and his guards were waiting. "Drop your weapons." The assassins hesitated, confused. "Now!" Okonkwo drew his own sword, dropping all pretense. "Kill them all." But he was outnumbered. And King Chikwudi now stood face to face with his trusted general, sword drawn, intent clear. "Uncle Okonkwo, what is this?" "This is a mercy," Okonkwo snarled. "You're too weak to rule, boy. I'm saving this kingdom. By killing your king. By becoming king." Everyone had heard it. Guards, nobles, citizens. There was no denying it now. Okonkwo realized his mistake. His eyes landed on Queen Mother Amara. Understanding flooded his face. "Ooh. How?" Amara stood. She couldn't answer with words. But her eyes said everything. "You forgot about the silent widow." Okonkwo lunged toward her with murder in his eyes. He never reached her. Chinyu the blacksmith stepped between them, her hammer catching him across the jaw. The general collapsed. 3 days later, King Chikwudi called a special assembly. "My people," the young king began, "we owe our lives to a hero who worked in silence and shadow, who saved us again and again without recognition, who sacrificed everything to protect a kingdom that had forgotten she was even there." He turned to Queen Mother Amara. "Mother, please. Come stand beside me." Amara rose shakily and joined him. Every eye was upon her. "Because of you, the dam didn't fail. The grain wasn't poisoned. The assassin didn't reach me. General Okonkwo's treachery was exposed. You are the true protector of this kingdom." He took her scarred, work-worn hands in his. Your silence was stronger than any words could have been. Amara's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth, not expecting anything. But this time something was different. I love you, my son. The words were barely a whisper, scratchy from months of disuse. But they were there. Her voice had returned. The great hall erupted. Amara's hand flew to her throat in amazement. "I can speak," she said louder now. "I can speak." She pulled her son into an embrace, tears flowing freely. "The physicians were right," she whispered. "It was grief that took my voice. But you know what brought it back? Purpose. Having something to fight for. Someone to protect." She looked at him. "Your father threw himself in front of that arrow to save you. And I spent a year doing the same thing in my own way. We both loved you enough to be silent about our own pain." In the years that followed, Queen Mother Amara became a legend. They called her the Silent Guardian. In the palace gardens, they erected a statue. A woman in simple clothes, bent over stones at a dam, her face determined. No crown, no jewels, just a widow working in silence, saving everyone. The inscription read, "Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is keep fighting, even when no one knows you're there." Amara's story reminds us that heroism doesn't always come with fanfare. Some of the bravest people fight battles we'll never see. They sacrifice in silence. They endure without complaint. Your mother working 3 jobs. Your friend battling depression while still showing up. Your neighbor caring for an elderly parent. They're all silent warriors. So the next time you meet someone who's quiet, someone who seems distant, remember Queen Amara. You have no idea what wars they're fighting in silence. And maybe offer them the same thing everyone offered Amara at the end. Recognition, appreciation, and love. Because sometimes, all a silent warrior needs is for someone to finally see them.